good here. You guys hear me still?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So this is on medium. I'm going to go ahead and just, you have these in the freezer, pull it out, it's ready to go, open freeze. I'm just going to go ahead and drop my meat in there. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to pull this over here. All right. You see now?
You want to turn the other way?
The other way? That good? Yeah? Perfect. Yeah? Alright. I like perfect. Okay, so I'm just dropping the meat in there. It's just kind of piece by piece. It takes a little longer, but if you fill this thing up and you sit there and just kind of push it down and push it down, it's going to start kicking back. This is going to start going around and going around. It's not moving fast enough. It's really going to heat up the meat. As we were talking about the last thing you want. Anybody ever made sausage at home before? Yeah? They just use a grinder like this? Yeah?
I have a grinder.
Yeah. If you don't have a grinder, and you want to make sausage, and you got a butcher that you trust and does a good job, you can always buy some ground meat from them.
What do you use as a casing for your lamb sauce?
What's that?
What do you use as a casing for your lamb sauce?
We use a sheep casing. Well, that lamb casing. And that's what we have on the ones that we're going to try here pretty soon. Yeah, I mean, it's for, we want to have, a non-pork sausage, and the lamb is perfect for that. So, we've got our ground lamb here. It's looking pretty good. The main thing I think is that I keep going back to is the temperature and the cutting and the sharpness of your blade. You get those two things down, you're pretty much good. In the book, there's a lamb recipe there, and it's this recipe that we're gonna try right now. All of our recipes that we do are to the percentages. So I mean, in the book it has grams, ounces, and also tablespoons and teaspoons, but it's also to the percentage, which is really important for us when we're dealing with whole animals, because I might have an odd number. I might have like 10.73 pounds of beef. So I want to make sure I'm going to use every single part of that. So I'll go ahead and say this is how much pounded, how much pounds I have, how much weight I have in meat, and I'll put it in my spreadsheet that I have, or I'll multiply it times the decimal of each ingredient, and that's that's the ingredients that I need to have, which is important for us because no waste. All right, let's check on these lamb here. All right, so this is taking a little bit longer. So while we're waiting for those to cook, I'm going to go ahead and move on to doing some of the chops here. Okay. All right, so back to our center section here. Now, if I had a saw, I would go ahead and just kind of saw this directly in half and have 2 equal parts. But since I don't, we're going to kind of come in the side way, which is right in between the base of the ribs and the spine. It's a little small gap in there where it's connected almost kind of like a joint, a little bit of cartilage in there. So I'm going to come in with my knife and basically just cut right down there. It's kind of a sound I'm looking for, a little give, which we got. I don't know if you guys are able to hear that or not. This is also, what I would do if I would have like a baby pig or something. A lot of times we'll roast pigs for parties or weddings or just because we're hungry. And doing this, open it up, will allow us to take the spine out and fully debone it, which is important, for us when putting something on a rotisserie, because we want to be able to cook everything at the same time. You can keep the animal whole and still cook it, it's going to come out amazing. But if it's almost kind of like a pig torpedo, I guess, with the head on there and everything's deboned and rolled up, it's solid meat all the way through. And then you got the head, so everything cooks at the same time. The skin gets evenly crunchy all over. So being able to debone a small pig or a lamb this way, very tasty. So I'm just going to come this side here first. So I'm just kind of popping those ribs out. Just going right below here. I'm bringing my knife underneath it, going right above the loin. Cool. So now we have our loin chops with the ribs on. We're going to go ahead and come in and take off this little skirt steak, which is a good little snack if you're doing this, because you deserve to have a snack. Take off the tip section, this is what we call it, the breast area, plate meat if this was a beef, but this is also a really good kind of braise. It's a lot of fat in here, a lot of fat will render out when braising it. But this piece, once I kind of braised this and it was nice and tender, once I braised this and it was nice and tender, I would go ahead and take it out of the braising pot, let it cool down a little bit, turn my broiler on, and put it underneath the broiler. It's going to get all nice and crispy and crunchy, and that cartilage is going to kind of pop out a little bit, and the piece is going to fall right off. So it's really, really tasty parts. All these pieces that you wouldn't really commonly, see in a store are awesome when you're able to get them from doing the whole animal. So we got our.
So you just feel that? Like,
what's that?
You just feel the top of the ribs?
Oh yeah, I think that's a good question. So you can see on this side, can you guys see these kind of like bulge right there? Yeah? There's like a little bulge right there on the tip of the ribs. That's right where the rib actual bone stops and the cartilage begins. And so right at that point, that's where the knife can get right into it. I can't really cut through these ribs, but right on this top, it goes right through fairly easily. So I can just kind of come in a little bit, and just kind of start to peel it back. And so you can see that white is that cartilage. Everything underneath that's the bone. And that's the same with any animal, pig, beef, or lamb. So, here's my other. So here's the merguez that we make that you guys want to try. It's kind of hot. So, as we were talking before, this is all lamb neck that we use. And it's a lot of raw onion in here, raw garlic, cilantro, marjoram, cumin, coriander. We basically make our own harissa, and it's just one of my favorite sausages, and really kind of gives you an example of how tasty the lamb neck can be. It's going to be have a nice kind of bouncy kind of texture to it. It's kind of a good way to explain it. Those small muscles, really tasty. This looks a little dangerous here. Disaster may happen. And I'll go ahead and just cut these and back to you guys. So yeah, so this isn't a sheep casing. This is a larger sheep casing out of some of them. You can get the casings in all different sizes. This is the 32 millimeter, also known as the Frankfurter size, and this is what we use for our hot dogs. And it's a grade A, which casings come in all different. Just put them in here. Casings come in all different. Sheep casings come in different grades. Hog cases and casings don't. And what we're going to get in the this nice grade A sausage casing is a nice snap that you wouldn't always get. So when you say, "Oh, that dog's so snappy," you know, it's coming down to that casing and how they're cooking it as well. The drier the heat you use when you're cooking it, the more that casing is going to dry out and the more of a snap you're going to get.
And these baked, right?
I seared these before and just put them in there because I didn't want to be splattering, you know, grease and trying to talk and all that. So I just lightly seared them right before the class and just finished in the oven. But you can bake them really easily as well.
Ryan, can I let them know what they're drinking?
Yeah, well, please, hop on in.
Hi guys, I'm Kimberly Correcti. I'm the director of program here for those I haven't met before. And I'm really excited to be pairing wines with Ryan's delicious menu tonight. The first thing that you have, which I think I explained to most of you, but it was a sparkling Chenin Blanc from the Loire Valley that was paired with the chicharrones, which I thought was pretty fantastic. Did you guys like the pairing? The reason that worked for me is because those are so unctuous and it sort of just melts on your tongue and then it coats your entire mouth with that, which is great. But sparkling wine comes in there and the bubbles sort of work like a little pillow pad and they scour all of that off the palate. Chenin Blanc is also a little bit richer than all the grapes that they use in Champagne. A little bit more honeyed, a little bit more body, so it stands out to those chicharrones. But now we have this merguez sausage, and we're still in Loire. We're in the region of Chinon now in the Loire Valley. This is 100% Cabernet Franc.